This video and podcast series explores key questions with industry leaders, delving into their views on electronics manufacturing, their technology driving their success, and their vision for the future. Founded in 1985, GPC Electronics has steadily expanded its global presence as a leading company for electronics manufacturing services. With facilities in Penrith, Sydney, Christchurch, New Zealand, and Shenzhen, China, GPC has successfully integrated its operations with the SAP system, enhancing manufacturing, procurement, and finance processes.
Yeah, it certainly was a very different world in the mid-80s when we started. And it's interesting to look then, it was a much more fragmented industry, there was a lot more startups and people had lots more ideas. The market was much more focused on communications, where the predecessor of Telstra used to get local companies to develop unique or customized product for them as well. And so those companies looked for someone to manufacture it. We used to get excited when someone brought us a kit of 10 boards to assemble, and we thought all our Christmases came at once. So it was very much more primitive in those days, but nonetheless it was an industry which is growing rapidly, and obviously electronics was going to be an area of great growth. What we saw too is that people around the world use electronics, so we really tried to focus a lot more on global companies who are overseas, because what we always thought is we want to play or support those companies which are going to put pressure on us in terms of performance. So whether it's in terms of capabilities, in terms of yield, in terms of costs and whatever else, then we said, look, it's no good being able to be successful with a local company who didn't have a lot of concerns about how we did things. So we started doing work in the 90s for companies like Toshiba, where we were the sole source globally for their docking stations, and did that for many years until other technologies started to come in place as well. So that was a real learning experience for us, just dealing with international companies, dealing with what they wanted. It was a box build, so we had to deal with metalwork, plating, plastics, packaging it, and they needed a very fast turnaround to get their products to market quickly, which then cycled very fast through a product life cycle, which was often only 6 months or so. We started doing work for people like Nortel. And Nortel obviously was a communications provider out of head office being in Canada, but North America. So we made for them a phone which was based, a Centrex phone, which they sold mainly to US, and we exported most of the product. And we did those in large volume. And we actually made some of their first iPhones, IP phones, globally. So we supplied them out of Australia to the rest of the world for them as well. So it's quite an achievement in the 90s. And then as we kept going, we did work for other people like Ingenico, and then people like Stratex, who made microwave radios, Thomson, who made the standard, what's now Telstra's phone, a rental phone for the homes as well. So really what that gave us is an idea of how to deal with global companies and international companies and the standards they require. So it was a great starting point. And what we saw is the whole Australian industry maturing at that stage as well, where others started looking at what opportunities there were, both locally and overseas, and developing the skills and the capabilities with equipment and people to be able to support those sort of companies. I think from our point of view, we've seen the market change, where what I described, what we did in the 90s was really running dedicated lines in relatively high volumes. And what changed really late 90s and early thousands is that Asia started really coming on stream a lot more, both China but other countries in Southeast Asia as well, to manufacture products. And that really changed our marketplace to be much more one of a high mix type environment rather than pure volume alone. And so flexibility then obviously becomes much more important to be able to make different products for customers as well. I think we see also that as the world has changed, people expect a much faster turnaround to demand as well. So even where the volumes are reasonable, people didn't want to commit themselves too far out. So what they come to us and say, look, we want to make lots of products over the next year, but then they tell us at relatively short notice what product they want, when they want it, which variant it is, and expect us to turn that around very quickly. So flexibility on the machines is very important on that as well. I think when you look at subcontracting more generally, people are trusting you with their operations because they're saying they're not going to do it, but they're going to get someone else to do it for them. So they're very dependent on us or their contractor to be able to support them in whatever they need in their supply of products. No products obviously means no sales for them as well. So when we look at equipment and processes, what we really need to look at something which we can do reliably, reproducibly, consistently, and knowing that we're going to be there to be able to produce the volumes, the quality, the throughput when customers want them. And so what we saw with the Yamaha machines is they really provided those capabilities as well. They've been very reliable. We needed a machine which we could use in multiple sites because we have facilities in New Zealand and in China as well. We wanted to commonize the processes so we could have a lot more interoperability and between the different facilities. And so Yamaha provided a machine which gave us what we needed in terms of, we talked about the flexibility, but also throughput, reliability in terms of placements, just consistency. And in terms of accuracy, they're really fantastic in terms of the placement and the consistency of the quality of what they do as well. For us, it's really critical to be able to change products over very quickly. We talk about flexibility and needing to be able to respond to customers' demand quickly. And we were able to reduce a changeover, including the first off inspections and everything else, from about 4 hours down to about half an hour. And in large part, that's because we were able to then start doing offline setups and switchovers. I think at any one time, we're probably running somewhere between 160 and 180 different jobs in the factory at any one time. And so what that really requires is to be able to change quickly. We also have jobs where we do small volumes of ones and twos, both for prototypes, but also for some customers who don't have huge volume as well and want to start up with a smaller batch run. And to be able to do those effectively, you really need to be able to set those things up well offline and change it over. The software really allows us to do that and be flexible in that as well. It's been a critical part to make sure that we develop a reliability of process, and customers really expect us to make sure that we can deliver, and we do that in a number of ways. We do that because we have some redundancy between plants. We have internal capacity to be able to manage different capacities, but we also do that because we make sure that from our customers' point of view, that we never let them down, that we do whatever it takes to be able to supply them. And one of those things is to make sure that our equipment keeps running well and doesn't stop. If you have a stoppage, then that creates all sorts of disruption and creates delays to the plans and promises we make to customers as well. We've seen these machines run virtually without any interruption, and it's been fantastic to be able to get the good support from Hawker Richardson on these processes. We've been running the machines for many years now. We run them both here in New Zealand, where Hawker Richardson supports that as well. And it means that doing our routine maintenance every year, keeping them up to speed, means that throughout the rest of the year, we can really count on them running and without interruption. I think really what we need to do is make sure that everything we do works well and works to plan. As a contractor, our customers have very high expectations of us, and in all ways, in terms of meeting promises, in terms of yield, in terms of improvements, in terms of reliability. they really need to trust us in everything we do, and they set the benchmark really at a very high level, because that's what they're trying to achieve as well. So part of that is really having a whole system, including the maintenance and support for equipment. And by having that really on standby and knowing that we can call someone in very quickly, and that may often be at night or late in the evening too when we're running shifts. And that's a great advantage, knowing that we can get back up when we need it very quickly. We see really it's critical to make sure that we get people coming in through the system as well. And over the last 10 to 15 years, as manufacturing generally has been in decline, we see that a lot less people have really thought that manufacturing was an option for them as well. We've done a lot of work working with universities to get students to do their work experience here. It's exciting to see how they react to some of those things. They come in and say, wow, you know, this isn't a dark, dingy place with heavy metal being poured or anything like that, but rather that it looks clean, it's air conditioned, they get to play on all sorts of automated equipment. It's all digitized nowadays, and they're very comfortable with that. And that's fantastic, because they come into an environment like that and get excited that, hey, this is something which they might get excited in. And we see engineers who come from mechatronics backgrounds, electrical engineering, but also mechanical engineering, and all of them can play a part in what we're doing here. So as we do that, our hope is that people get excited about the opportunities in the manufacturing sector, and that they stay in that sector and help develop it. We ourselves have had a lot of people who've been with us a long time. Many people have been here over 20 years. And what we look at is, how do we develop the next generation of people to come who are technically capable, who are excited by what they do, who can add value to it and keep developing the systems. Everything we do, we need to keep evolving. What we thought was good 5 years ago becomes routine now. And similarly, what we're now looking forward to is, what are we going to do in the next 5 years, and how do we do that? And these young people show an aptitude in engaging with digital processes. As you know, more and more processes are digitized nowadays. So everything from how we quote, how we send drawings, how we order things, and how we run equipment, how we test equipment as well. And these people are just naturally much more familiar with those processes than people who grew up in my era, where we thought a computer was something fancy. So part of that is really then the industry growing as well. And we can see that there's opportunities in the industry. I think at the moment, the industry is showing some growth across lots of different sectors as well, and that's exciting. And people are starting to see that there's good job opportunities. For a while there, I think people thought software is the answer for everything, and clearly there's a place for software. But hardware and manufacturing is also a place where people can add a lot of value and creates a lot of excitement. We hope lots of people move into the sector. I think nowadays everything becomes critical. People are really driving how much you can get from what you have, and every tool you can have in your armamentarium is part of what you need. I don't think there's one solution to everything, but rather we work on all areas. We've talked a little bit about setups, we've talked a little bit about doing some of those things offline, but also with digitization, it allows us to start tracking processes and doing the analysis of the processes. So we do real-time monitoring on the lines to see what yields are and throughput. The operators can see if there's a defect. We have optical inspection at the end of line, so the operators running surface mount see when they're starting to have defects down there and can examine what caused that and adjust that if necessary. Sometimes it's product related, sometimes it's process related, but that also means that we can really drive our yields much higher. Reducing rework is both cost effective, but it also means the product is more reliable in the field as well. By working with these processes and capturing the data, it also allows us to talk with our customers about what's going on. We can give them feedback on their products. We can work with them on how to get better reliability out of their own products. And so it works across the whole spectrum, making sure that we have visibility of what's going on in the systems.